Hey, John and Tex. My name's Alex. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 5 months ago, I suffered a knee injury playing basketball. Basically, the guy went for my pump fake in the post, and while I was in the air, he decided that my back was a good landing place to catch his balance. Under his weight, my knee ended up caving down and in. I went to my PCP and my chiropractor. They both evaluated the knee and assessed no major structural damage to the knee or any of its tendons or ligaments. I never received any specific diagnosis of the knee injury, but I've self-evaluated it as a knee sprain. Despite no structural damage, I'm finding it difficult to get back to sports. Lifting weights have been no problem. After a month or two, I was able to squat through a full range of motion with very little discomfort, and I was even able to hit a lifetime squat PR a couple weeks ago. The knee feels strong and stable throughout all the primal movements, squats, lunges, step-ups. However, when I dynamically load the knee, Olympic lifts, plyometrics, agility drills, it's as if my brain starts throwing up huge roadblocks. I've been getting stiffness behind the knee and into my upper calf area anytime I try to push it with any type of agility, jumping, sprinting. It's not unbearable, but it's consistent, and it shows up after every time I try to do these types of exercises. My question is, how do I begin to bridge the gap back to sports? What should my game plan be? Is there a progression of movements that I should be following? Are there things I should remove or things I should be adding? I've been using the Power Dot twice a week, following squat sessions, trying to balance the contractions from the injured knee. Also, I've switched from Field Strong programming to Bedrock with the thought that the emphasis on isometrics and stability and lower volume would allow me time to focus on the mind-muscle connection with the injured knee. I'm 31 years old. I have 2 young kids with another small one on the way. Basketball has always been my game, and I play it regularly in a league where most of the guys range between the ages of 18 and 22. Basketball is a young man's game, but I want to play with these young guys as long as is sensible, and I would love to get back out there soon. I credit Power Athlete programming for being able to keep up despite being a decade older than most of the guys I regularly play with. Thanks in advance. Bye.
The coaching point with a lot of the French contrast stuff in terms of the eccentric and especially the isometric is we want them to move fast down into an isometric hold, but it's finding your weak point in your range of motion. And the opportunity for the single leg stuff is abound. That's a jumping pun. And
wow.
I was reaching for that one.
It's pretty interesting when somebody has to stop and explain the pun to you. Normally you hear it and you're like, oh, that's pretty puntastic. But when somebody has to stop in the same monotone voice and give it to you.
Oh, you get it?
Get it now.
Anyway.
Okay.
Now we get it. Thanks for helping.
But the isometric, for example, Bulgarian split squat, we're going to have plenty of single leg isometric with active foot, without active foot. But what we want to do with an isometric with our French contrast or triphasic is load into. So almost like breakdown. So I'm loading into my position, aiming to find my weak point, and then I'm holding. And then the biggest mistake for execution on isometric, what I see is, I'll tell you how to do it correctly first. Once I find my depth and isometrically hold for the allotted amount of time, 8 to 15 seconds, I want to drive straight up. What we're seeing is load into weak point, and then folks go down to go up.
Oh, yeah.
So common mistake there, but this is, again, a specific training, but we have plenty of the down to go up later in the program for the concentric. But I think there's an opportunity for you to move from Bedrock, Alex, onto our next Field Strong cycle.
I would definitely recommend him move to Field Strong.
Yeah.
Just the isometric contractions, the heavy eccentrics, ton of the dynamic movements. I'm interested to see how his knee feels if he hits the flutter kicks.
And the trampoline as well. So opportunities with lower impact to still accomplish his goal.
Even something as simple as like the cocky walks. Is can he handle that? He'd probably be able to handle that type of plyometric load a lot sooner than the bent knee variations, just because that was the mechanism of injury, right? So the nervous system will be a lot more confident in the straight leg variation of it.
Yeah. We'll make a note, John, to add in the pop 1-2.
I think it's also though important to note too is once you get the strength, like say we're doing active foot Bulgarian split squats, we're doing some flat foot stuff where you teach the arch to flatten, and now you're building that tensegrity in there. You're getting all the muscles and the ligaments and nervous system working together. Now you got to be able to teach it to explode and transfer that energy up the chain. right? It's useless if we can't use the property of the tendons to be reflexive again. Like our fascial system is like a Wi-Fi network, right? It sends signals super fast and it's really energy conserving. So for me, you mentioned, John, that it sounded like an overanalyzer, like overthinking things.
Yeah.
Whenever we do that, the muscles tense and we're using way too much muscular effort in and around in our movement.
Or maybe it's just thinking too much, like,
that too.
and this happens all too often when people get hurt. I remember, the first time you get hurt and it's something you're always kind of like, well, it doesn't feel the same. The other side feels different. And then after you get hurt, like the next time you're like, fuck it, it's never going to feel right. I'm not going to worry about it.
Well, that is the importance of Bedrock as a rehab program. One, especially if you've been through it originally, to establish a base level of strength, you gain confidence with your new knee or so on and so forth. If you had a surgery or recovery, because the linear progression, plenty of opportunity to overload and build your mental confidence in your movement that you can then return to the more dynamic or playing.
I'm going back, I'm a loaded freight train and I'm right on track. I'm